Hello, this is Vex, and welcome back to Tyranny. If you may recall, in our last video, we had gone through the Ascension Hall Keep and taken over the tower ourselves, actually betraying our disfavored allies. What's really cool is if you go over, you see here the Spire option. It now has an option here. We have the Veteran Wall Spire. It has this mysterious device here. The ancient device perched atop the mountain spire in Veteran's Well is the product of a forgotten age. It is unclear what function it once held, or if it can be used again. Resting in Spire grants a bonus to all skills. Ooh, that's cool. And it has no maintenance cost. Now we can actually put a few recruits up here. 6 of them from this list here. Now these recruits will actually be skill trainers, as you can see here from this Satis person, or merchants themselves. They also occasionally create items, and each of the different spires offers different recruits. However, you can only recruit 6 of them here in Veteran's Well. Did see this one down here, Lysandra. Oh, we got her because she's from the Conquest, a skill trainer who teaches control life, control vigor, control atrophy, control gravelight, and the use of magic staff. Now you may notice there are 2 spell skills which we don't have yet, which is kind of interesting. We also have that cost 5 of these bronze rings. But we can actually get another Fatebinder here, who has the ability to change what skills you are proficient in. Ooh, that's actually pretty nice. Basically, he lets us choose all of our skills again. I'm not going to go over each and every one. In fact, right now I don't think I'm going to train any of them. However, Beric did level up as well. So I am going to give him the ability to do more physical damage. And now Beric is, as you may recall, it's not bad. Pretty much a tank. Though tanks aren't as important in this game, they are still important. Alright, now, because we have 3 skills in it, we can use level 3. We can put a point into the 3rd level of his Sentinel ability. The shield wall will grant you defensive bonus to shields, while Beric uses all one-handed weapons and shields. Oh, the seasoned veteran level 2 lets him get more enemies attacking him only. Sound of War will increase Beric's Clash of Iron, bolsters the strength nearby allies, granting them a bonus to armor. Ooh, that's not bad. Or Defender's Watch, Beric and nearby part. Ooh, that's what I'm gonna go. It will. I think it's a passive ability, but even if it's not, when we use it, it lets us all take reduced damage. But as I said, I'm pretty sure it is a passive. Oh, you notice each of our 3 companions have their little mouth or talk bubble flashing. That means they want to talk. And well, we haven't actually spoken with Ebb at all. As you may also remember, in the last video, we got her to swear fealty to us. Now let's start talking with Verse.
So, the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored are at each other's throats. Can't say I didn't see that coming, but the Archons might have waited until one war was over before they started another.
No kidding. Of course, we got a couple choices. Do you think I made the right decision, or their war doesn't interest me? Now, the decision that we are talking about when choosing that is Basically, to go out on our own, under no Archon. We chose to take Ascension Hall with the disfavored, but betrayed them and took the hall as in our own name, as opposed to giving it to Ash. I'm going to see what she thinks about this decision.
Claiming Vendrian's well and kicking everyone out? Well, it took brass balls the size of the gates of judgment, but I don't fault you. If the siege was really that badly mismanaged, then I don't see that you had any other choice. It'll make you more enemies than friends in the long run, but friends are overrated.
Verse is such a character. Although I wouldn't get rid of her for the world.
Who can say? War is all about compromising your morals, deciding who lives and dies. What seems like a mistake turns into your greatest call down the road.
As long as you survive.
I'll say this much. Our time together is anything but dull. My blades are yours for as long as you'll have me.
Oh, Verse seems very loyal.
What do you need?
Oh, got a few choices here. Could say to both Barrack and Verse. Have either of you noticed that you two fight particularly well together? We can ask Verse, just Verse, about her apparent connection with Barrack. I'm going to talk to both of them.
The thought has crossed my mind from time to time. During the many battles of the Conquest, we found ourselves standing back to back with enemies on all sides on more than one occasion.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's nice having a living wall of rusted iron I can use for cover.
Oh, these two work well together. Let's see how they think this is even possible.
I would suggest that our fighting styles complement each other, but they do not. I would suggest that we get along, but we do not. We don't even finish each other's
sentences. Okay, that was strange. Did you hear that? The next time I catch a whiff of Barrack's meaning, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Let's see if we can get them to train together.
Absolutely not. Our fighting styles are incompatible, and any disfavored lieutenant will tell you not to join at the hip soldiers who can't stomach each other.
I'm inclined to agree. If you want to pair up fighters, there has to be some great passion or magnetism between them. We don't have it.
Now we could command them to train together. We could try to bluff them and say, if neither of you is up to the challenge, then I won't force you. Ooh, I kind of like that one. We could just say, why don't you give it a shot, or we could discuss later. I'm going to try and bluff them.
A valiant attempt, but I'm not as easily swayed by your courtly tongue.
Neither am I. At least, not in this context.
Just a bit of innuendos, eh? Yeah, let's see. Why don't you give it a shot?
I think that because I don't want to covers it pretty well. Training alongside this self-important braggart is likely to sap whatever patience I have left.
I can see that you're out to serve the best interests of the war, but we are accustomed to handling ourselves as individuals rather than as a pair.
We'll discuss it later. I'm curious. I want to go back to that other
Fatebinder. What do you need?
That other decision about their apparent connection.
You've just got to know, don't you? I suppose there's no point in hiding it. Barrack and I are siblings.
Ooh.
And we share a father, if little else.
They're half siblings. That's pretty interesting.
I try not to think too much about some northern merchant dropping anchor in my mother's port, but it happened. And the fortunate result stands proudly before you.
Oh, is that ever innuendo-y? Let's ask how they became aware of it.
There were a lot of lazy days during the conquest, and among other things, I spent my off hours using messenger birds as target practice. You should have seen Ash's anger when he heard that was going on. One day, I snagged a bird that flew from the hands of a proud northern daddy. The missive was about the goings-on at the family farm. I recognized the name and handwriting from a note in my mother's belongings. There weren't too many people named Barrack in the army, so tracking him down was no challenge. I cornered him in camp, and we shared a few heated words. Some blackmail, even.
She tried to extort rings from me, and I was having none of it. Not even Graven Ash would think less of me for our father's indiscretion.
I like your confidence, but my ring belt is feeling a little light these days. Maybe you want to take me up on that offer, or I can start whispering in disfavored ears. Think about it.
I have a feeling I know this answer, but we can ask them, do you even like each other?
I've tried to get along with that ironclad knot of repression, but it would seem he's having none of it. Good riddance, then. The war's tossed us together, but nothing says we have to keep that going. The most we do for each other is try not to get the other one killed, which is more than you can say for most disfavored in Scarlet Chorus.
Oh yeah. Considering most disfavored in Scarlet Chorus would happily kill each other. Let's ask how it affects Barrick.
Well, Verse has a nasty habit of jabbering in my ear and making this war intolerable. I plan on parting ways and returning to the north at first convenience. My father will answer for his infidelity. Beyond that, I am happy to consider myself in every way unaffected. My superiors once accused me of having an impulsive streak, but I have worked to suppress it at every turn.
When you go back home, send Father my fondest greetings and thanks. If he hadn't gone to ground on my mother's dry dock, I might not be here today.
Oh, she loves her innuendo.
My heritage was a point of pride and distinction before I met you, Verse. Not that you would care.
They cannot be any less alike, can they? Let's ask how it affects Verse.
I've asked myself about that several times, but unfortunately I don't have what you'd call a definitive answer. The Northerners put a lot of meaning behind family and blood. Seems arbitrary to me, but I don't want to discredit it entirely. I told you about what happened to my Scarlet Fury sisters. The hesitation I experienced. Sometimes I wonder if that wasn't because of my connection to Barrick. He's stubborn, regimented, everything I'm not. I suppose there's no telling for sure, but if I had to guess... yeah. Sometimes I get messed up in my head, and learning I had a brother has helped me understand that better.
Little bit of self-growth for Verse, though it was very much off screen. But it's good to know that she's learning a little bit. I'm kind of curious what Barrick has to say about all this, especially since it was the disfavor that we betrayed. Fatebinder, if you have a moment, Barrick stands at attention, his rigid bearing making of him an unmoving statue. I know that the two of us have clashed on several subjects since the Iron Marshal assigned me to your protection. I hope these disagreements do not weigh too heavily against the request I have to make of you. You can ask him what he wants. Relax, Barrick. Just tell me what you have on your mind. If it's a hug you're looking for, I've got bad news. Or we could just glare at him. I want to go for the hug. See what he says. No, that's not it at all. I hope that perhaps the adjudicator would hear my case. We can ask him what he's talking about, or we can adjudicate cases in the Archon's stead, which we can, or we can just say nothing. I'm going to say we can adjudicate cases in the Archon's stead. This is something you probably want to appeal to a higher power. I've been encased in this. He wraps a gauntlet against the shards of corroded armor and bronze that sweep across his chest. Since Kairos' Edict of Storm made a grave of Old Stalwart. It occurred in service to the Overlord, and I would ask the Overlord free me of its burden. Now we can say, aren't you more useful to the Overlord in your armor? Or, Tunon can't order Kairos to take your armor off. Or 3, you were right, this is something for Tunon. Or I will happily make your case for the Archon. Or finally, just, we don't have time for this. I'm going to say that he's right. It's a case for Tunon directly. Then you agree to agree to present my case? I'm going to say, aren't you more useful in your armor? Perhaps there are other armors. Air passes from its helmet, possibly the result of a sigh. Any respectable commander would extol to you the virtues of high morale. I convinced that each day I remain confined in this monstrosity, mine weighs. Yeah, high morale is definitely a good thing in an army. Let's just say Tunon can't order Kairos around. I wasn't going to ask the Overlord to do it personally. His metal plates grind together as he shifts. The Forgebound Guild swore its services to the Adjudicator. If any hope of my freedom from this carapace exists, it lies with them. Well, I'd be happy to help our comrade. So we'll make the case to the Archon, and Barrick gain loyalty for that. Thank you, Fatebinder. His salute rings like a poorly cast bell, sorry. I eagerly await the Archon's judgment. Oh, looks like we leveled up for that. Does Barrick have anything more to say? Oh, not exactly. Barrick stares at you through his narrow eye slits, saying nothing at all. The only evidence that he still lives, the stream of heavy exhalations that escape from the cracks of his helm. Are you okay in there, Barrick? He continues to stare, unmoving. Though you can't see his face, you get the impression that his mood has darkened even further. The stench that his armor exudes has intensified. Are you mad or something? Or, Barrick, did you die under there? Finally, we could just poke him. I'm gonna ask if he's mad.
You betrayed Graven Ash, the Legion, and our northern countrymen. As far as I'm concerned, you are a traitor to this campaign.
Barrick leans in close, looking ready to throttle you, and we gain some fear for that. Because, well, we did betray Graven Ash. Sort of. Now we got a couple choices. All the powers behind this war failed to impress me. I carve out my own path. Or it was my right as Tunon's Fatebinder to choose a side. We can use our athletics to punch him in the gut. Ow. Or we could just order him to stand down. What's our... Oh, we're almost at tier 3 loyalty, and we're halfway to tier 4 fear. I'm gonna go with... Oh, what's our choice here? I'm gonna punch him. Gain more fear for that. Your fist connects with his armor with a hard clang. Barrick looks down at you with as much confusion as disapproval.
I don't know what you expected would happen, but I'm only too pleased to disappoint you.
He turns away, shaking his head.
Let us be clear on one point. You have my blade, but my heart belongs to Ash and the North. I am a weapon bound to you only by duty. Nothing more.
Oh. That didn't work well. Oh, but we got a Barrick's fear ability. Can we talk to him some more?
You look as if you have something on your mind. By all means. What can I do for you? The thought has crossed my mind from time.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's nice having a living wall of rusted
ask what they
iron
think
I
of
can
it
use for cover.
Do you think this is because of your shared heritage?
If you want to attach some arcane meaning to the whole thing, be my guest. I couldn't tell you for sure. I doubt that a capable tactician could explain why certain soldiers learn to rely on each other.
In the disfavored ranks, the Oathbound seem to know more about synchronizing their efforts, and the same could be argued for the Scarlet Furies. I don't know how they pair up their units, but it isn't by virtue of blood. Absolutely not.
Let's see if we can get them to train together.
A valiant attempt.
Nope.
Neither am I.
Alright. Now we did level up ourselves. Let's just quickly give our do our level up dance, so to speak. I want more damage to our spells. I like 'em in magic. What? Oh. We could get more spell slots to our whole party, which is pretty good. Boost morale. Oh, we could give ourselves more arm, a 4th weapon slot. What about our magic? When attacking from stealth? Well, we don't attack from stealth. I am going to add spell breach to our thrust attack. There we go. And let's now speak with Lantry.
At least in theory, I'm supposed to be observing history and not getting myself wrapped into it. All the same, this is the thrill of a lifetime. Rarely does one stand so close to monumental moments in the making. You've made a lot of enemies during the Battle of Vendrian's Well. If the Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus stop fighting each other, one or both might get the notion to crush you underfoot.
Yeah, probably.
There is hardly any opposition to Kairos left in the tiers. Yet this civil war forestalls any formal close to this conquest. I can't imagine the Overlord is amused by these recent events.
No, probably not. Now we've got a few choices here. The Archons can have their little squabble. With any luck, they'll destroy each other and do us all a favor. Or, no doubt, this is all part of Kairos' plan. A test to decide whether Graven Ash or the Voices of Narat should rule. Probably. Or this civil war is an opportunity to bury both of the Archons. They've signed their own death warrants. We could just glare at them, or finally, I think the Overlord is waiting for someone strong to take charge. That will be me. I'm going to go with the second option, saying this is probably Kairos' plan.
During my time as a chorus prisoner, I heard many warriors speak of Tunon's dilemma. Most conscripts believe the Archon of Justice must and will nominate the Greater General to rule at the end of the war. Whatever you do next, consider that many eyes will be upon you, for you have both delivered and taken away the Overlord's edicts, and few will know how to make sense of the latter. You are an exception the Archons cannot afford to ignore. They will likely aim to control or destroy you.
Yeah, probably. Let's ask him, have you heard of edicts being broken before?
Most of Kairos' edicts were either worded to end in a manner of the Overlord's choosing, or the edicts have simply continued in perpetuity. That's not to say there haven't been stories of broken edicts. They're just uncommon. The oldest is, I think, Goldbraith and the Edict of Sorrows, and that tale dates back to around the year 110. Aside from you, the most recent was the Edict of Twisting Grasses, back in 380. In all these stories, Kairos' edict very clearly gives its victim a single way to escape, and someone manages it. What's never happened is the pure abatement of an edict, like using a spell of warding or cancellation.
Huh. So sounds like there's never been a way for someone to just say, yeah, I'm just ending this edict. Which makes sense from at least everything we've heard so far. Let's just say noted. Let's get going. Now, I am going to end this video here before we go speak with Ebb, as we haven't spoken with her at all, and that is probably going to be a video unto itself, as it has with Verse, Barrick, and Lantry. Now, based off of what we saw with Barrick, we might not be speaking with him all that much. Oh, and you'll notice his thing here, that Defender's Watch, minus 5% to all damage taken. It is constantly in effect, which is perfect. What is this? Oh, Spire Rest bonus. Ooh, plus 5 to all skills until next rest. Perfect. Alright. At this point, as I said, I'll end the video, and in the next one, we will talk with Ebb. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys have a great day.